Hello, everyone. A very good morning to you all. I want to thank each of you for taking time from your busy schedule in joining today's webinar on ManageEngine Password Manager Pro. Before we dive into today's session, can you all do me a small favor? Please type in yes if you can hear my voice okay and see my screen clearly. If I'm not audible or if the video is not clear, kindly specify the same in the comment section below. This is just to ensure that the AV is good to go and no one misses on today's interesting webinar. Okay, looks like everyone is able to hear me clear. So let's dive into the session. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Sean, your product expert from ManageEngine Password Manager Pro, and we are going to talk about the missing element in your privileged access management strategy today. Before we go ahead further into the topic, let's have a quick poll. So the poll is going to be about like the how many of you are aware of the number of keys or certificates your organization has. So the poll will be open for 2 minutes, and I request everyone to participate. Okay, I can see that 25% has voted already. This poll is to actually have an idea about the attendees in today's webinar. I just wanted to know, like, if any of you are already aware of the total number of certificates or keys that you actually manage in your organization. Okay, 75% has voted. We still have 30 more seconds. Okay, I'm going to close the poll now. So I can see that 83% has said no and 17% has said yes. That's great. So we can see that around 83% of the attendees in today's webinar do not know about the identities like the number of SSL certificates or SSH keys that are actually present in their organization. Okay, let's quickly start one more poll here. So this poll is going to be about how many number of you are already using Password Manager Pro to manage SSL certificates and SSH keys. So once again, this poll will be open for 2 minutes. And I would request each and every one of you to join this poll. So this poll will actually give us an idea on how to lead this webinar session from right here. We have 30 more seconds. Okay, I'm going to close this poll now, and we can see 86% has already voted, and 83% has said no, and 17% has yes. I'm going to close the poll right now. So thanks for participating in this poll. So this poll result actually gives us a idea on how we need to actually lead this webinar. So in today's session, we are going to see why encryption key management is a very important aspect of our PAM framework and how PMPA actually helps us in achieving the same. So I believe by the end of this webinar, you will pretty much know how to manage the complete life cycle of your SSL certificates and SSH keys of your organization. And also, I believe that you will be effectively using the Password Manager Pro solution to manage these identities as well, other than passwords. Encryption keys and layered security. With advancement in technology, cyber threats have been constantly growing and evolving. Enterprises are meticulously working with various solutions to strengthen their overall security posture. However, there is no silver bullet when it comes to IT security. A highly recommended and widely adopted technique among enterprises today is following a layered approach to information security. This technique combines multiple security strategies that offset one another's capability to prevent malicious intrusion, ensuring tighter security. SSH keys and SSL certificates are the heart of this comprehensive layered security framework. These digital identities serve as the foundation of trust over which all other security strategies unfold and operate. So when the foundation isn't intact, so as you can see from the picture depicted, um, if the SSH keys and SSL certificates, which are the heart of this comprehensive layered security, is compromised, you can see what it could actually lead to. The low profile privilege credentials. So using Password Manager Pro, we all manage our enterprise passwords. We securely store them using Password Manager Pro, and as well as we securely share them with other users. So it's mostly passwords. When an IT administrator or a security administrator thinks about privileged credentials, it's always going to be about passwords. Whereas the SSL certificates and SSH keys are mostly neglected. So when it comes to privileged accounts and devising an enterprise privilege access management strategy, passwords are the only thing that comes to our mind. Yet passwords are only a part of this equation. Encryption identities like SSL certificates, TLS, and SSH keys act as low-profile privilege credentials, granting access to mission control systems with enterprise but often ignored by security teams. Due to this reason, they are increasingly becoming the prime target of cyber criminals who exploit them and establish the first touch point, expand access, elevate privileges, and even create permanent backdoors. So, failing to secure your SSH keys and SSL certificates leaves a gaping hole in your enterprise privilege access management strategy. And this would lead to service downtime or even exploitation. Often, keys and certificates are an imminent danger to an organization's overall security posture. So, as you can understand, like if there are keys and certificates which are orphaned in your organization, if no one knows where these keys or certificates are actually deployed, or else let's say a specific user has access to these keys and certificates, and these certificates or keys are not acknowledged, or else like they are not protected, then there is a chance that it could be misused. Even one unmanaged or lost SSH key will give hackers unlimited access to your company's infrastructure. 99% of companies actually leave them unmanaged. Likewise, manual SSL certificate management made around 80 SSL certificates expiring on government domains itself, like US Department of Justice, NASA, and the Court of Appeals. Costly breaches have occurred in the past and continue to do due to compromised SSH keys and SSL certificates. For example, let's take um, Snowden's exploitation. Like Snowden used fabricated SSH keys and self-signed certificates to hack into the NSA. He employed a tactic often used by cyber criminals to exfiltrate the data. It's like uploading the data to a command and control service by using self-signed certificates. Since the NSA wasn't properly tracking these keys and certificates, his efforts remained undetected for a long time. He actually took credentials from his common access card to get onto these systems as a system administrator. He had certain level of privilege. From the basic platform, he was able to fabricate SSH keys that allowed him to jump to another systems. And he got to other systems, got elevated privileges, targeted data, and even used self-signed certificates in combination with SSH keys he fabricated to exfiltrate the data out of the NSA. And one other recent case would be the Firefox add-on issue. So millions of disabled Firefox add-ons resulting from an expired certificate at Mozilla. Many Firefox users around the world were browsing without their usual set of extensions after they suddenly stopped working this May. The event occurred, and the impacted users quickly narrowed down to an certificate which was actually expired. It was actually an intermediate certificate which got expired. And as it's described on Mozilla's bug tracker, the same problem almost happened 3 years ago. So in case if these certificates were actually properly monitored and if the expiry information of these certificates were known to the IT administrators or security administrators, these kinds of downtime could be avoided. And there are like few other cases we can talk about, like the one with the GitHub, or else there are like many other cases we can. I mean, like if we have to talk about it, we can like talk more. Industry expert inferences. So let's take a look at what the Gartner says about the attacks that occur due to SSL abuse. So around 50% of network attacks occur due to SSL abuse. Okay, and similarly, a private consultancy made a research like wherein they have given us a output saying that an average organization houses over 23,000 keys and certificates. So this was back in 2016. So now it's like 2019. So we can say like it could be like more than 40,000 certificates or keys that could be managed by each organization right now. And we have a few findings from 2019, a few reports out. So we can see that like 71% of respondents stated that they don't know how many keys and certificates their organization actually held. So this actually matches to the poll that we actually have run in the beginning of this webinar. Okay. So, and it says like in the next 2 years, the cost of this service downtimes due to expired certificates could be possibly 11 million or more. And out of 600 IT professionals surveyed, 74% state that unmanaged certificates are one of the predominant reasons for unexpected service downtimes. So once again, this almost matches our poll during the start of this webinar. How to bridge gaps in enterprise PAM strategy. So as we discussed earlier, when we talk about PAM strategy or an enterprise PAM strategy, we always think about enterprise passwords. So it was always about storing passwords securely and sharing passwords according to the role-based access control. And SSL and SSH keys as identities were actually being left out. So we are going to bridge this specific gap in our enterprise PAM strategy. So we have around 5 points which we are going to discuss right now on how to manage your SSH keys. We are going to look at complete SSH key lifecycle management using Password Manager Pro. Okay, so the first one is gain complete visibility over your SSH environments. So right now I have logged into Password Manager Pro. And if you're using an enterprise edition of Password Manager Pro or else a premium edition, you can see that you have access to two additional tabs right now, which would be the SSH keys tab and the certificates tab. So from the SSH keys tab, we will be able to manage the life cycle of your SSH keys. Now, first, let's take a look at how to discover these SSH keys inside Password Manager Pro. So the first point, gain complete visibility over your SSH environments. So this can be achieved by identifying the SSH keys and discovering them inside the Password Manager Pro solution. To discover the SSH keys, we can navigate to the Resources tab. We can discover a few Linux devices. If you already have any Linux resources added inside the tool, you can go ahead and you can like specify you can select the account like a privileged account, root or an administrator account, and click on the Discover Keys button as we see here. So this will go ahead and start the private key discovery. Once this process completes, we can navigate to the SSH keys tab and we can see that the keys have been actually discovered. So from this list of keys, we can choose the ones that we want to actually manage and click on the import button. Once we do this, the SSH keys are ready for management. Okay, so right now we have discovered SSH keys. The next thing that we can actually do from right here is that we can go ahead and start associating these keys to existing servers or else to any users below that particular servers. We can also go ahead and rotate these key files. Number two, centralize all key management operations. So right now we have discovered all these SSH keys and we can see that they are displayed here in this particular page. So this acts as a single UI from where we can access all the SSH keys of your organization. So once we complete the discovery process, all our SSH keys will be displayed in this particular page. So this will act as a centralized vault from where we can actually manage them. I can go ahead and choose a certificate from right here, click on associate button, and I can associate it to any specific account or a specific user within Password Manager Pro. So any server that has been discovered or added inside the tool, I'll be able to associate this SSH key to that particular server or the user. I can also go ahead and create new SSH key pairs using Password Manager Pro. So I can provide a key name, provide an SSH key passphrase. So while providing a passphrase, you need to make sure that the key passphrase is actually complex. So you need to set the policy, like how strong the passphrase should be. A key comment to identify like what this key is actually used for, or else you can leave any comment over here. And key type, you can choose from RSA, DSA, EDSA, ED25519. And key length, you can specify whether it's 1024, 2048, or 4096. And just hit the create key file. So by this process, I have successfully generated an SSH key pair, like a public private key pair using Password Manager Pro. I can also go ahead and further deploy this key file to target servers, or else I can associate to specific users within Password Manager Pro. Enforce strict policies for key creation. So that's what we just saw right now. So while creating the SSH keys, we can very well specify a strong fast passphrase, and as well as we can set up what the key type should be and key length. We can like set it to maximum. Implement fine-grained access control regulations. So using Password Manager Pro, you can decide which users need to have access to which keys specifically. So you can choose a particular key file, click on the associate button, go to a specific server. Under the server, you can associate this particular key file to a specific user so that this user alone will be able to access the associated SSH key. So this can be done using Password Manager Pro. Log all user activities. So whatever actions that have been performed using Password Manager Pro will be completely audited. Like for example, trying to create a SSH key, associating the SSH key to a specific user. So whatever it is, okay, everything will be completely audited. So keys audit, under the audit tab, you'll find keys audit. You can see that like we have tried to discover certificates from PMP sent to us one machine, and we imported few discovered keys, and then we have actually created a particular key successfully. So everything will be completely audited. You can see like a date and timestamp, and as well as operation and a small description of like what has been performed. You can also like have these information generated as reports at any point of time and delivered it to specific administrators. We will also be able to like perform key rotation. So once a key is generated, or also once a key is discovered, if you want to go ahead and rotate this key file, you can very well do that. We can just select the key that we want to rotate, click on the rotate button, and if in case if you want to push this key file to a target machine, you can very well perform this. So you have options to push private key files or public key files, or else even if you want to use key name as a file name itself for the target machine, that can be very well performed. This key rotation action can also be like completely automated. We can schedule key rotation. So this way, you need not manually interfere and like perform these key rotation actions. You can automate so that no keys will be left unrotated. So to perform this, we can just navigate to the admin tab, SSH and SSL. Under that, click on the schedule button, click on add schedule, and we can choose the schedule type as key rotation. Under key rotation, we can choose the key files for which we have to actually perform this key rotation and then enable the schedule. So you can do it like a hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly basis. You can also specify start and end time, like a start date. You can specify the email addresses of the users to whom this needs to be notified. Or you can also create a key group. So under the SSH keys page, okay, you have something called key group, from where you can just go ahead and create a group by clicking on the add group button, choose the key files which you want to add to this particular group, and enable this schedule at the group level as well. Okay, so right now, whatever we have performed using Password Manager Pro is depicted here as a diagram like SSH key lifecycle management. So we have discovered and consolidated the SSH keys, stored them inside Password Manager Pro, and using this, we can very well go ahead and deploy these keys to end servers or associated to specific users. We can perform key rotation, and we can also launch remote sessions using this particular key files. So if you want to launch remote sessions using key files from a specific device in Password Manager Pro, what you can do here is that you can go to the resources page, go to the particular device, click on the resource name like the Linux device, and you can click on account actions button next to a specific account, and you'll be able to edit the account and specify use private key to log into this account instead of password, and save this. So it means that when someone tries to launch a asset session for this particular using this particular account, the session will be launched using the key file, the private key instead of the password. So we can just do an open connection, click on SSH or Telnet, and the private key will be used in this specific case. Now let's see how Password Manager Pro actually helps us in managing like the SSL certificates. Okay, so like we will be able to manage the complete life cycle of the SSL certificates using Password Manager Pro. So we'll be able to discover certificates. We'll be able to display this information in a dashboard wherein it can specify when a specific certificate is going to expire, like whether it's going to expire next 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. We can also enable real-time alerts, or else we can also like do scheduled alerts wherein emails will be delivered to the end users about a specific certificate going to expire in so and so date. And we can also perform vulnerability scanning. We can create certificate requests. We can like get certificates signed from your internal signing authority, or else we can also get the certificates signed from third party, and we can also deploy the certificates to target machines. So like the complete life cycle management of an SSL certificate can be achieved using Password Manager Pro. So now let's see how this can be done using the Password Manager Pro tool. So once again, if you're using an enterprise edition of Password Manager Pro, or else a premium edition of Password Manager Pro tool, on the left-hand side, you'll find the certificates tab from where all these actions can be performed. First, let's take a look at how to discover these certificates using Password Manager Pro. Under the Certificate Management tab, you'll find something called Discovery. Under Discovery, you have options to discover certificates, mail server certificates, certificates from load balancers, certificates from Active Directory, certificates from your certificate store or your internal signing authority. And at last, we also have an option to discover certificates using agents. So let's take a look at the first option, that is discovering certificates from the network. We'll be able to make use of this discovery method to discover certificates from like your organization. Like if the certificates are hosted or using a specific IP address and a port number, we'll be able to discover those certificates here. We can do either like we can discover individual certificates, or else we can discover certificates by specifying an IP range or even a subnet. For example, let's say I would like to discover certificate of my own organization. I can just specify the domain name here. I can specify whether the port is going to be 443 or 7272. So whatever port is associated with this particular domain, I can just specify it here. If there are multiple ports, I can do them here in comma separated values and just hit the discover button. This will go ahead and start a discovery process, look for certificates on the specific domain, and pull up the certificates and add them inside the password manager pro repository. So right now it was able to find certificates on the port 443, and the certificate has been added inside the tool. So let me just quickly show you the certificate it actually discovered. So zoho.com. So as you can see, it's a wildcard certificate. It's been issued by Sectigo. Okay, and it says it's valid till April 30, 2021, and it also says shows us the number of days to expire, that is 618. You can also find key size, signature algorithm, and domain expiration information displayed in the same page. If you want to look at the certificate content, you can just click on the zoho.com, that's a certificate name, and you can find those information. So it's going to provide you information like the issuer, signature algorithm, serial number, fingerprint, everything. Even if you want to export certificates out, like the actual certificate and the root certificate or any intermediate certificate, you can just click on this export buttons present on the right hand side. Similarly, I can also specify an IP address range and run a discovery, or I can also uh, do a discovery using a subnet. So let's just quickly see how the IP address range will actually work. So I'm going to specify an IP address range here. So if there are any certificates in this specific range, it's going to return back with an output, or else it's going to say the certificate discovery has actually failed. So every time the discovery runs, it's going to take us to a discovery status page, which will show the information live. Similarly, we can also discover certificates from subnet. So you can specify the subnet here in the IP address CID or format in order to like perform this discovery. If you want to exclude any specific IP addresses, you can also very well do that. In case if you're already managing a specific file like a text file or a CSV file where you have the IP address information of all the service where the certificates are possibly hosted and the port numbers, you can also very well use from file option to browse for the specific file and run the discovery. And the next widely used discovery method would be is to discover certificates from MS certificate store. That is discovering certificates from your internal signing authority. Using Password Manager Pro, you can very well discover certificates that has been issued from your internal signing authority till date. As you can, you may have to like specify the server name. That's the server name of your internal signing authority. We have to specify a privileged account and password, and this would be enough for us to like fetch this information. If you want to like import expired certificates, even if you want to set up a date filter and specify like specific range of certificates to be imported, or if you want to like fetch the certificate templates and choose a specific template and import those certificates, that can also be very well achieved from right here. So right now I have specified my internal signing authority server name, provided a privileged account and password, and I have chosen a certificate template as web server, and I'm going to discover the certificates from there. So as you can see, it's going to take me to the discovery audit page, and within some time, it's going to show me the output of the same. From the same MS Certificate Store page, under type, you have two options like Certificate Store and Local Certificate Authority. So what we have done right now is like discovering certificates from your Local Certificate Authority, that's your PKI. We also have options to discover certificates from your certificate store. So certificate store discover in the sense discovering certificates from MMC on a particular server. So it's going to be once again the same process. We have to specify the server name from where we want to discover the certificates, provide a privileged account and password which can fetch these certificates for us. And from right here, we'll be able to get stores, that is like list the stores like your personal root stores, choose them and then discover them inside Password Manager Pro. And the other discovery options are like discovering certificates from Active Directory. So if you're using certificates for AD logins, or else if you want to manage certificates assigned to your AD users, you can very well like perform those from right here. You have to specify a domain. Let's say we can add a domain name here, provide a domain controller and secondary domain control information, provide a privileged account and password, and we can either specify individual users or else a group to import. So once this like import begins, it will automatically fetch the AD user certificates as well. Even certificates from load balancers or certificates from mail server certificates can be discovered using Password Manager Pro. Okay, so these are the different methods of discovering certificates using Password Manager Pro tool. Once again, you can see that once the certificates are discovered, it's going to show us like almost all required information, like the common name of a specific certificate, its DNS name, issuer, validity, number of days still available, key size, signature algorithm, and domain expiration information. Okay, in case if there are any certificates which have already expired, it will show up in red as we can see right now. Okay, and if the certificates are going to expire in next 30 to 60 days, it would show up in orange. And if it's going to be like, let's say 0 to 30 days, it will show up in green. So like there are different color coded formats using which we'll be able to identify when the certificates are going to actually expire. This expiry information will be displayed in multiple locations within Password Manager Pro. So one is the certificates tab. As we see here, it's going to show us the expiry information from right here, number of days for renewal. So all those information is available here. Other than this, we can just navigate to the dashboard screen at the very top and click on Keys Dashboard, which is going to provide the complete information. So certificate expiry table shows us the total number of certificates which have already expired, the ones which are going to expire in next 30 days, the ones which are going to expire in 60 days, and the ones which are going to expire in 90 days. You can also click on that particular report to look at the specific certificates from right here. And the other location from where we can actually gather the expiry information would be the reports. So we can navigate to reports and we can go to certificate reports and SSL expiry report. So we can specify the number of days, filter by number of days, and hit the submit button, which will actually give us this information. If you want to export this information out as PDF or CSV, or else if you want to mail someone, you can very well do that. By default, Password Manager Pro will send you a notification email about the certificates which are going to expire in next 15 days. So if you want to change it to like 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, you can also very well do that. Or to addition to this, if you want to like schedule an expiry report, which will send out information about specific certificates being expired, that can also be very well done. So to achieve this, we have to navigate to the admin tab, go to schedule. Under schedule, we can navigate to the add schedule, and the schedule type should be SSL expiry. So from right here, we can choose specific certificates for which we want to like manage the expiry information, or else if you want to like do it to a specific group of certificates, you can add those certificates to a certificate group and specify the group here, and then like say how often you want this particular report to check for expiry information and send out emails. So there are different places from where we can actually gather the certificate expiry information. So it's inevitable. So it means that like there is no chance that you can actually miss a certificate being expired. So even before the certificate is going to expire, you will be able to go ahead and renew those certificates using Password Manager Pro. Now, if you see the certificates, let's say certificates are going to expire within few days. Now, in case if the certificates were actually issued by your internal signing authority, then within Password Manager Pro, we have an option wherein you can enable the automatic renewal. So to enable this, we can just navigate to the admin tab, navigate to SSH and SSL page. Under that, you'll find Microsoft CA auto renewal. So we can just like enable the auto renewal task. So once this auto renewal option is enabled, before even a certificate is going to expire, that is before the expiry of the certificate, like before 10 days, the tool will automatically go ahead and renew those certificates for us without any kind of user intervention. In order for this to successfully perform this automatic renewal, we need to run the Password Manager Pro service with a privileged account which has enough permissions to sign certificates for us from your internal signing authority. So that would be the main requirement. Okay. Once the certificates are renewed, we will also be able to deploy these certificates to target machines. So let's say you have a certificate ready right now and you want to push it to a specific machine like a Windows, Linux, or else you want to push it to MMC or IIS. You can very well do that. You can just like choose the certificate from the list, click on the deploy button, and then from the server type, you can choose like where you want to place it, whether it's going to be IIS or Windows or Linux, and you can specify the server name and a username and password, like a privileged account, which can actually deploy the certificate to the target machine for us. And path would be a temporary location where you want to place the certificate initially when we try to transfer the certificate to the target machine. Even if you want to specify a file name for the certificate, you can also very well do that. By default, the common name would be specified. So for this, it's like createc.com. So if you want to like provide a different name, I can provide a different name here and just hit the deploy button. And the tool will go ahead and deploy this certificate for us on the particular machine. So this is how we'll be able to manage the complete life cycle of an SSL certificate using Password Manager Pro tool. Okay, and a few other information to share with you. So if you see like if there is a certificate which has been like discovered from the from the web, and if the certificate has been deployed on multiple servers, like more than one, then Password Manager Pro will actually remember those certificates, like from where they have been discovered, and provide us a list of the same. So to give an example, I'll just go to the discovery page here. I'll just like try to discover a public certificate. Okay, so once this is successful, we can get back to the certificates page. In case if this certificate was deployed on multiple servers, it's going to like provide us the information as well. Okay, so it's a wildcard certificate, so it's deployed on multiple servers, right? So here on the right hand side, you can see an icon which says multiple servers. We can just click on this, and it's going to show us the information about the DNS name or the IP address of the machines where the certificate is actually deployed. So this will handle the use case wherein you have like multiple wildcard certificates deployed within your organization, in case if you don't know where the certificates are actually deployed. Like a single wildcard could be deployed on multiple servers, like 1, 10, 100, it could be anything more. So if you want to identify where those certificates are actually deployed, you can run a discovery using Password Manager Pro. Once the certificates are discovered, you can click on the multiple servers button on the right hand side to the specific certificate, and it's going to give us this information. At any point of time, if you want to like download these certificates from Password Manager Pro, you can just click on the key store button that's available here, and it will allow you to export certificates out as PFX or JKS. Even if you want to export the private key, that's completely possible. Okay, so there is how we'll be able to manage SSL certificates using Password Manager Pro. Now let's look at a few significant use cases which can be achieved using Password Manager Pro. Let's see what would be the possible advantages of using Password Manager Pro to manage SSL certificates. Now let's see how to sign and manage certificates from internal Microsoft CA. So using Password Manager Pro, we will also be able to create certificate requests and get those certificate requests signed from your internal signing authority. So normally, when you want to create a certificate request, like you may have to like make use of a key tool, or else like you may have to make use of OpenSSL to generate this specific certificate request. Okay, or else in some cases you'll make use of like PowerShell to execute specific commands to create a certificate request. Once a certificate request is created, we have to like have the certificate signed either from your internal signing authority or from a third party. So you need to have access to this particular internal signing authority if you want to get the certificate signed. Okay, if it's going to be third party, you have to like contact the right people to get those certificate from signed from third party signing authorities. Now, all these are actually built in within Password Manager Pro. All these actions can be performed from Password Manager Pro's web console itself. So from the certificates page under CSR, I can go ahead and click on the create button, which will allow me to create a certificate request directly. So all I have to do here is like specify this requested information. Like for example, like provide the common name, okay, and an organization unit, the organization information, location, state, country, key algorithm. So I can choose from RSA, DSA, or AC, and key size. It could be 4096, 2048, or else 1024. I can also choose the required signature algorithm, where it's going to be like SHA-2 or SHA-384 or SHA-512. And I can say whether I want the certificate output either as JKS or PKCS tool. I'm going to specify the validity as 365 days here and enter a strong store password. You need not actually remember the store password in case if it's been created using Password Manager Pro, because the tool will actually remember this password for you. So I'm going to create the certificate request right now. So once a certificate request is created, I can make use of this certificate request to get the certificate signed either from my internal signing authority, or else if I want to get it signed from a root certificate, that's also possible. Similarly, if you already have a key store with you, and if you want to create a certificate using that particular key store, the same can also be achieved using Password Manager Pro. So this is so here, this is the certificate request which I just created. So if I want to export the certificate content, like the CSR content, I can very well do it from right here. At any point of time, if you want to look at what the store password is, you can click on the passphrase button to look at the store password. And if you want to mail the certificate request content to someone, you also have a mail option here using which you will be able to perform that. Now, to sign the certificate request from my internal signing authority, I need to choose the certificate request from the certificate signing page, click on the sign button, and you can see that it's giving me an option saying sign tab as Microsoft CA or sign with root. So as I want to sign the certificate from my internal signing authority, I'm going to choose Microsoft CA here, provide the server name, that's my internal signing authority, provide the certificate authority information, and the certificate template. I want to deploy this certificate to my web server. So I'm going to choose the certificate template as web server here and just click on the sign button. So this will help me in getting the certificate request signed from my internal signing authority. So the same use case will also actually help with creating SSL certificates for Password Manager Pro. So normally, if you want to create an SSL certificate for Password Manager Pro, like you may be like creating certificate requests, getting it signed from your internal signing authority manually, or else you may go to your third-party signing authority to get those certificates and then apply those certificates manually onto Password Manager Pro server. But right now, using this method, when you create a certificate, okay, when you create a certificate request and get it signed from the internal signing authority, the certificate will actually reside within Password Manager Pro. So at any point of time, you can just like go ahead and download this certificate onto your machine. And you can just navigate to the admin tab, password manager pro server, and you can choose like whether it's going to be pkcs12 or jks. So it's a pfx file, so I'm going to choose pkcs12. Browse for this specific certificate, provide the store password, and then just hit the apply button. Okay, so once this is performed, I just need to restart the password manager pro service so that the certificate would be applied. So there's an example of creating certificate requests and getting it signed from our internal signing authority. Similarly, we also have seen how to apply these certificates for password manager pro web server itself. Now, if you want to get these certificates signed using a root, you can also very well do that. If you already have a root certificate, you can add it inside Password Manager Pro. You can like browse for the certificate and add them inside Password Manager Pro, and then make use of it to actually sign certificates. Or else, if you want to create one, you can also create a root certificate by clicking on the Create button here. Specify the certificate information, root certificate information, have the option generate root certificate enabled, and hit the create button. So this will create a root certificate for us. So I already have a root created here. Okay, and I can make use of this particular root to sign my CSR. So all I have to do here is just go to the CSR page, create a certificate request, choose it, click on the sign button, say sign tab as sign with root, okay, and select the certificate from the drop down and provide the validity and hit the sign button. So this will actually sign certificate from root. So we need to, if you want the certificate signed from root to be trusted across your network, then you need to go ahead and deploy this root certificate across your network. Okay, so this job can also be performed using Password Manager Pro. In the sense, you can like choose the root certificate, go ahead and hit the deploy button, and push them onto all the servers where you want this root certificate to be present. So just select that, click on deploy, okay, and you can say whether it's going to be single or multiple servers, and then like specify the server names. If it's going to be multiple servers, you can actually have those information on a particular file and hit the deploy button. So this will go ahead and push the root certificate onto all the target machines. If you want to generate a CSR using a specific key store, that's also possible. So I'll just quickly show it to you here. So under CSR, you have create CSR from key store option. So you can browse for the key store, provide the private key password in order to generate the certificate request. Now let's see how we can actually sign and manage certificates from trusted third-party certificate authorities. So Password Manager Pro has tight integrations with few third-party signing authorities like vendors like GoDaddy, for example, Let's Encrypt, or the SSL Store. We directly integrate with them. So it means that if we are going to get an API key and a specific password for the vendors, we can actually have them added inside Password Manager Pro to directly integrate with them and fetch the order information and as well as certificates. For example, for GoDaddy, I can just go to the GoDaddy page, click on the account information on the top right, and it's going to ask me for key and secret. So this key and secret can be acquired from the GoDaddy website. I can generate an API key and a password for it, like the secret, come here, have this information updated and save it. So once I do this, the tool will go ahead and fetch the orders for GoDaddy, and as well as it will fetch all the certificates that has been issued by GoDaddy and add them inside Password Manager Pro. The same thing will be done for the SSL store as well. So we need to provide the partner code and the token. So once that is performed, the tool will go ahead and fetch all the order requests, and as well as it will add all the certificates that's been issued by the SSL store. SSL Store is actually a third party which will allow you to get your certificate signed from a few vendors, like, for example, as you can see on screen, Sectigo, Symantec, TWAD, GeoTrust, Rapid SSL. These are few third party signing authorities from whom we can actually get certificates signed if we have an account with the SSL Store. Within another 2 weeks, we are also going to integrate with DigiCert with Password Manager Pro. So once it's available, you can also get certificate signed from DigiCert directly. So once the integration is available, you can see that you can go ahead and like start ordering certificates from Password Manager Pro interface itself. Order certificates, renew certificates. All you have to do here is like select the certificate, hit the renew button, or even if you want to reissue certificates, all this can be performed using Password Manager Pro. How to create and deploy a web server certificate for Password Manager Pro. So we have already like seen this use case. So we have created a certificate request using Password Manager Pro, got the certificate request signed from our internal signing authority, and we have deployed that certificate onto the key manager machine, and we have browsed and applied the certificate for Password Manager Pro. A service restart would be required for the certificate to be successfully applied on the web server. And how to create a database certificate for connecting Password Manager Pro to an MSSQL database. So the communication between Password Manager Pro and the database would be always over SSL. In case if if you're already using MSSQL as backend database, then you would know that like you would have followed certain steps to generate the certificate, have them pushed onto the SQL database server, apply the certificate, and then like have the connection enabled to communicate or make use of SSL as the backend database for Password Manager Pro. So how the job can actually be performed using Password Manager Pro right now? You need not make use of OpenSSL. You need not make use of Keystore to generate any kind of certificate request. Instead, you can just like go ahead and like perform it from right here. You can just like say create CSR, get the certificate request generated, and once the request is generated, you can actually get it signed from your internal signing authority. Or else, if you want a trusted certificate from a third party, you can go ahead and order a certificate from third party signing authority. So once the certificate is available, you can just choose a certificate and click on the deploy button and choose Windows as the option here because you want to push it onto the database server, Windows database server. You can specify the server name right here, provide a privileged account and password, which can actually deploy the certificate for us. And then we can specify a temporary path. So this will go ahead and place the certificate for us on the database server. So once it is performed, we can go ahead and apply the certificate on the SQL database server. And then like we can like perform the change DB steps in order to migrate the database from PostgreSQL to MSSQL database. Okay. So before we move into questions, I would like to show you one other feature that's actually available within Password Manager Pro. So the certificates which are being managed using Password Manager Pro, like we can actually run a vulnerability scanning. Okay, so vulnerability scanning in the sense the tool can actually identify if any of the certificates are affected by Poodle vulnerability or Heartbeat vulnerability, or even in case of the certificates are used where weak ciphers are being enforced. So all we have to do here is just choose a certificate and click on scan vulnerabilities. So we can specify whether we want to include scan or we want to like do it on deployed service and on the port numbers where we want the scan to actually run. We can also automate this using the schedule feature in bulk. Okay, so I'm just like initiating a scan right now. Okay, so if in case if the certificate is affected, the information will be displayed here. Okay, it's going to show us the certificate is affected by so and so vulnerability. So the same action can also be performed as a schedule. Almost all actions that we have performed right now in order to manage the SSL certificate lifecycle can be automated using Password Manager Pro. And this can be done from the admin page, SSH, SSL, schedule, add schedule. And you can see that you have options to perform a scheduled discovery, like specifying an IP address range or a subnet. You can say like how often you want the scan to run, and you can specify a start time when it needs to start and from which day it needs to start and who needs to be notified about this particular discovery output. And you can also see we have an option to run SSL vulnerability or Microsoft certificate store discovery or even reports. So this is how we'll be able to make use of Password Manager Pro to manage the complete life cycle of your SSL certificates and SSH keys. Uh, um, okay, and I believe that the session was useful and informative, and I believe that you can actually go ahead right now and have Password Manager Pro perform these discovery for you. So you can make use of the tool to like discover certificates, SSH keys, look which certificates are going to expire, have them automatically renewed, or else identify the SSH keys which are actually, let's say, neglected. You can have those keys rotated, assigned to specific users, and you can also like generate reports and stuff. So we'll take questions now. So I would request each one of you to have your questions typed in the chat so that I can answer them for you. So we actually have a very limited time right now. So any questions that have been unanswered would be sent out over email. Okay, we have one question here. So is it possible to manage certificates from other third-party signing authorities which are not directly integrated with Password Manager Pro? Yes, that's completely possible. So if you see, we will be able to discover certificates from I mean, like we'll be able to discover certificates that has been signed from by any third-party signing authority, irrespective of the signing authorities or issuers. We'll be able to discover the certificates. We'll be able to identify the expiry information. We can see key size, domain expiration, all those things. The only thing that we'll not be able to do here is that we'll not be able to renew those certificates using Password Manager Pro. So for example, right now we can like renew certificates for GoDaddy, Let's Encrypt, or anything that's supported by the SSL store or from DigiCert. So in case if anything that's been left out here, then we'll not be able to renew those certificates using Password Manager Pro. Okay, I can see one more question being typed here. So we will end with this specific question. Is it possible to autofill the certificate request page? At present, no, it's not possible to autofill the certificate request page, but we already have this feature available. It's actually in development, and possibly within another 2 weeks or 3 weeks of time, we'll be like enforcing that, or else we'll be like pushing that with our next release, wherein once that's applied. Okay, in the create CSR page, you'll have a templates button from where you can go ahead and have a predefined template. So choosing that will automatically fill in the organization unit, organization, location, state, country, and all the algorithms will be automatically filled in, and you'll be able to create a certificate request just by entering the common name alone. So, with this note, I end this session, and I believe that the session was useful and informative. And you can go ahead and start playing with your Password Manager Pro installation. In case if you have any questions or doubts during this process, always feel free to drop us an email, and we'll be glad to help you with the same. So we can either mail it to my mail ID, shakti at manageengine.com, or else to Password Manager Pro-support at manageengine.com. Even in case if you want to trial more keys, by default, you'll be allowed to manage up to 25 certificates or keys. In case if you need access to more keys, just drop your email in the chat box, or else like just drop us an email directly so that we can help you with the trial. Also, we'll be sending this webinar video to the registered attendees. Okay, so anything else, just drop us an email and we'll be glad to get back to you. Thank you. Bye bye.